judge issues a stern warning to police officers. Good evening and thank you for joining us. It's the latest development in the water controversy in Henderson County, where 2 arrests and poor water quality have put the town of Trinidad in the headlines. Tonight, KLTV7's JD Conti has more on the new questions about how Trinidad police handled a Facebook post and why 2 officers will have to face a judge in person from now on.
It raises questions about the process that these officers went through and whether it went through in good faith.
2 arrests, dirty water, and now a letter. That's the latest in Trinidad, a Henderson County town with a population of about 800. Last month, independent journalist Jennifer Combs was arrested for a Facebook post. In it, she said she'd gotten reports some people in town had been hospitalized because of the water. Take a look at some of the photos sent to KLTV. The police chief said there were no such reports. Officers charged her with making a false report. A grand jury later no-billed her. Now, questions are being raised about whether officers followed the law when arresting her. In a June 8th letter, District Judge Scott McKee writes to Trinidad Police Chief Charles Gregory. The court observed that substantially more information was known to investigators at the time judicial process was sought than was disclosed in the original search warrant application. Information later disclosed in the arrest warrant application included facts concerning citizen complaints, water quality concerns, the context of the statements under investigation, and information tending to explain the basis upon which those statements were made.
A neutral district judge has documented in writing that the officers investigating a citizen for her speech about the city's water failed to give the court the full picture.
Ryan Francis Chena is one of the attorneys representing Combs in her lawsuit against the city. He says it's not clear what police may have withheld. Francis Chena says McKee signed a search warrant for Facebook information, but a justice of the peace signed a different warrant for Combs' arrest.
Later, when he reviewed the arrest warrant and found that there was a lot of information available that wasn't presented in that affidavit, that was something that he found very concerning.
Chief Gregory recently submitted his resignation effective June 19th. We called the police department multiple times this afternoon, but were unable to get in contact with him. Near the end of his letter, Judge McKee says that future warrant requests made by 2 officers will have to be made in person. JD Conti, KLTV 7 News.
Now, the people of Trinidad held their own water workshop Monday night to talk about the city's water problems. They hope to get the issue on the city council agenda next Tuesday.